All right, welcome back. Episode 73 of the Young Old Heads podcast. I'm one of your hosts, Tommy, aka TV Sports Cards, and I'm here, as always, with my good friend and co host, Max, aka Cards Max, aka Cards Max Repack Edition. Max, how's it going?
I'm confused by the moniker Repack Edition, but I'm Traveling Max. I'm here with my good friend and co-host Tommy. I have cards on my desk, and I wonder what we're talking about today.
Well, last week we had Carter on, who was, a great guest, and I can't wait to see what they do with the new shop they're opening up. But his boss Jeff was really riling some people up with the repacks this week. So I had to give some homage is how you pronounce that. I don't know, to that topic of conversation that was online this week. We'll get into that later though, Max. First, I want to hear about the travels. I saw a bunch of people posting pictures of you with your jean jacket in Philadelphia. What was going on?
I had a 1 day in and out trip to the Philly Card Show. I don't think I've ever been to the Philly Card Show for multiple days, but it started with a 5:30 a.m. flight there and a 9 p.m. flight out. Lots of flights. Convention center was cold and chilly in the morning. I'm glad that I'm able to make use of my long sleeved denim jeans and denim jacket while in the brisk Philadelphia Convention Center in Oaks. I did a lot of buying, I did a lot of selling, I talked to a lot of fun people, I bought some cool cards, and then I headed my way out.
Yeah, we got to get you one of those like puffer jean jackets for the winter time. I think if it's going to be cold, the jean jacket is not the most dense jacket out there. So I think we got to get you one of those amplified ones that people in the cold weather areas wear. Or you got to wear something under it. I don't know. But how much was the expenses on this one, Max? I know we always like to see the calculations behind getting the profit out of the trip.
Yeah,
What was the input?
Uber I drove to the airport, which was maybe $30 in gas round trip to and from my house to Tampa. The flights themselves, I want to say it was a $75 round trip through Frontier. Yeah, I go budget airlines for these card shows when I'm just all about the cards, but I want to say it was a $75 round trip. The Uber to and from, yeah, each leg of the Uber to the convention center was $75. Um, and that was my entire expenses.
You didn't have to pay for parking at the airport?
Sorry, airport parking was $12 for the day.
Not bad, not bad. No
Really,
entrance fee? Entrance fee?
wink, wink, nod, nod.
Oh, nice. Little sneaky action. I like to see it. I haven't paid. I feel like I don't really pay for card shows too often if you know someone in there who's a dealer who can sneak
Yeah,
in some dealer badges.
or
That's a
not really
loophole.
ethically give vendor badges because you're working their booth.
Yeah, true. You are doing work. You are doing work. Did you bring cards to sell, or was this a strictly buying trip?
I want to say almost all of my shows nowadays are strictly buying trips because I've said this before on the podcast. I determine if a show is worth it based on my buys there, and any sale is just bonus. But I did not end up selling anything. If anything, I took cards. I took my Shohei Ohtani stash out of my bag to ensure that I had room for all the cards I wanted to buy, and I bought cards.
Did you buy any cards the day of and then sell them the day of? Like any day
No,
of flips? Nothing.
there were no day of flips. Would have been
Oh,
cool, but no,
what? Sorry, I
no,
was interrupting you.
no, you weren't.
Well, what?
Yeah,
What?
our producer's gonna handle this clip, but I can just talk about the cards that I picked up.
No, no. I want to hear the vibes though. What were the vibes of the show? Like what were generally people buying and selling versus what you were doing?
My hot take is that Philly is the third best show in the country, excluding the National. I would rank Dallas and Burbank behind it, and then a little bit of gap between those two, and then you get to the Philly show. Again, which is ironic because I've never spent multiple days at the Philly show. I've done some of Friday and some of Saturday on some occasions, sometimes. Um, Philly is probably the best at getting. It's probably the best show for walkers in the country in terms of commandeering that local traffic. I've been like, it doesn't rely on social media. It doesn't rely on word of mouth. The people that want to travel to Philly will travel to Philly anyway, and it also still establishes that strong Northeast collector base that just wants to go to a card show in the North. Like if you are in any vicinity of Philadelphia, you are going to the Philly show, even if you don't buy and sell cards or aren't active on Twitter or Instagram or whatever other forums. The old heads know about Philly and they attend Philly, and even the young heads that don't use social media. It is an established show and one of the most established shows in the country, and people go to it, and you don't need to worry or be fearful that the people that you're interacting with are just people that you connect with online anyway. You get
Yeah.
nice organic faces at that show.
I did see that there are a lot of former young old heads guests at the show. Did you see any of our old friends?
Not too many. I spent a lot of time with Tank Sports Cards, Mr. Lubati, and Brad Closet Cards and Consignments, Mr. Bradley. And that was at the very least who I spent. As for Twitter people, that's who I spent most of my time with.
Frank's
There
the
was
man. What was Frank buying? Just baseball as usual?
He's always buying the extremely niche yet extremely cool baseball and Bowman and everything else under the sun. You can always check out his sales. He's always pumping out stack sales daily.
Yeah.
I took a peek and he bought some fun stuff. Same thing
his
with Bradley.
his volume is unreal. I can't believe how much he grinds into these stack sales and like everyday eBay. Who do you think you grind eBay harder than those guys? I know Bradley also is.
Absolutely not. If
No.
anything, I learned from Frank and Brad themselves, and I personally have toned down my eBay buying and have pivoted more towards higher end slabs.
And I know that I want to get into what you bought, but I am also interested in hearing about like, did you learn anything from any of the dealers? Was there any cards that you saw that you didn't buy, but were like, oh, I didn't even know that existed?
Cards that I didn't know existed, no. Usually, if something catches my eye, I do just end up buying it. Um, Cards
Okay.
that I was definitely spent some time looking at admiring a Rafael Devers Bowman Chrome Red Refractor out of 5 from 2018 Bowman, which has a very nice color match, as well as a Jordan Alvarez Bowman's Best 2018 Red Refractor out of 10 auto. But I danced and we couldn't tango to the right price on those. But
Bummer.
those were cards that I passed on, but were still cool enough to discuss on a podcast.
Those are cool enough. I declare those cool enough to discuss. But let's just get into it then. What did you go home with? What came back with you on Frontier Airlines?
What came back with me on Frontier Airlines? I have 3 cards on my desk from the show. I have other cards on my desk that we can talk about because I have the best cards. Yeah, the biggest individual pickup that I had from the Philly show, maybe the most controversial, is this Mike Trout 2017 Dynasty 1 of 1 MLB Authentic patch autograph. I got it for an interesting price. There's a little bit of a soft corner. I want to say it's this corner I'm pointing to. And the autograph is, Mike Trout didn't have steady fingers when gripping the pen on this one. But it is still a 2017 Dynasty Mike Trout 1 of 1. It is a Dynasty Mike Trout 1 of 1, regardless of any criticism you have. I'm either going to slab it up PSA Authentic or Mike Baker Authentic and send it to PWCC, maybe in March, maybe sell it in the offseason. I don't know, but it is a sick card.
That is awesome. What was the first year of Topps Dynasty? Do you know?
I actually had my knowledge picked on this. First year of Dynasty is 2014, but first year of Dynasty in color is 2016. 2014 and 2015 had sepia, choose your pronunciation like you would a Swiss Army knife, designs and silhouettes for the player. But once you get to 2016 Dynasty, that's when they become more iconic.
Nice. Well, I feel like I've been hearing more and more of these people being like, oh, there's too many 101s and these not modern products. But I feel like anytime you're getting one from before 2020, at least, that's like a certified sick card. And no matter the markings on the autograph or the soft corner, I feel like you're gonna make out pretty well in that one.
I hope so. Hope is not a strategy. These next two that go hand in hand, I'll start with the more niche one, but the one that will definitely get some fanfare. is this Bryce Harper Black Refractor from 2021 Topps Heritage. This is a PSA 10. PSA 10s are relatively tough to have of Heritage Black Refractors. I'm looking at this right now. It's pretty.
That
Yeah,
pops.
I don't have much to say outside of that. Trout Heritage Black Refractors command a nice premium. Iconic rookies command a nice premium for Black Heritage refractors. I think Black Heritage refractors in general are very appreciated, but to the extent to where they are overrated. My biggest card sale of all time was buying a Beckett 9.5 Shohei Ohtani Black Refractor True Gem Plus at the National for $3,800, which is an obscene amount of money for a non-autographed card. And I sold it 2 weeks later for $6,500. That is the biggest sale of a card I've had that was not traded out of. And that just screams that should not be a $6,500 card. But when going for veterans like Trout and Harper, this is going to be $300 to $400 on for what I'm going to be selling it for. I think that's fair value, and I respect people who want to do career runs out of this.
Yeah,
I've
and also when in
I've
Philly,
thought
you got to buy.
career run labor before, and I've declined it, but I respect people that do want a career run of something like this.
Yeah. Do you think Harper, his market is stronger for cards in his Philly uniform than Nationals uniform at this point?
No,
No.
I think people get confused on how consistently good Bryce Harper is to the extent that he is underrated. I know we poked fun at my sports analysis of me claiming that Bryce Harper was going to be big in the postseason, and then Tommy's like, "Yeah, like you predicted that." But the truth is, he was big in the postseason 2 years ago as well, and then his prices rose, and then they fell, and then no one cared about Bryce Harper, and then the Phillies did it again. So this stuff shouldn't be surprising. Bryce Harper does have the local collector base in Philadelphia, and as well as just an underrated baseball player. I don't tell you who to buy, collect, invest, or whatever. But whenever you can get like Hall of Fame players like this of a black refractor for fair prices, this is the type of card that if I see it in a showcase, I want it. So then I can find someone else who wants it and profit off them.
Yeah.
No, but
My favorite thing about the Heritage Black refractors, at least in the last 5 years, is that now that Topps Chrome doesn't do a standard black refractor, like it is really the only black refractor that is a long term historic quote unquote product. Because they used to do black refractors in normal Topps Chrome, now they don't. So it's like that is really the top black refractor you can get. And for like a Giants fan like me, those things never really pop up, even for random players.
third card from the Philly show that I'm going to talk about is another black refractor. I'm holding a PSA 8 Juan Soto 2018 Topps Heritage High Number Black Refractor. These are numbered out of sex number 69. And a PSA 10 of this just did $3,000. I'm holding a PSA 8 in my hand. Yeah, Tommy, that's what I mean by some of these cards are a little bit overrated. I couldn't imagine paying $3,000 for this for a PSA 10, but the market is the market. It is not my fault. And when I'm talking about iconic rookies, like the aforementioned Shohei, like maybe future New York Yankee Brian Cashman, please don't overpay Juan Soto. I'm glad I get to hold cards like this in my hand.
How did the comping go for a PSA like that? I assume the PSA 10 was the only comp that from recent times.
It was very. I mean, the PSA 10 comp was fresh. I just asked what his asking price was, and it was a number that I liked, and I was able to get it $100 lower than that. I didn't steal it by any means. Everyone who has these types of cards knows what they're doing. Incidentally, all three of these cards were from the same vendor. Shout out Card Sharks, Mr. Chip at the Philly Card Show. I bought all three of those cards from him. I'm very happy. I think I spent half of my budget overall at Philly with him, and now I have cool cards to talk about.
Did you buy anything else from him, or was it just those three?
I bought more from him, but they were more boring cards, and those were my top three from Philly.
Fair enough. Fair enough. So did you get some value plays, or was it all like over a few $100 cards?
My value plays were the over $300 cards. I do have other cards on my desk that I can talk about, though, Tommy.
No, it's good. I had a couple stories I want to tell, and then I want
Yeah,
to ask about
like,
some other stuff that was going on the timeline. But a few months ago, I want to say, I discussed a card that I had. It was a well, I still have it in my apartment, but it was a political card. It was a Ron DeSantis campaign out of 500. No autograph or anything, but just him playing baseball in college. It was put out on his campaign's website. I think it sold for $30 retail. I have had it on my eBay shop for 125 bucks free shipping for about, I don't know, 2 months since basically that episode. I have been playing the long game that I've been taught by Max, which is you won't find this. There is not any listings lower than this. There's a lot of fakes of this card out there now, from people trying to cash in on, I don't know, the political season. But it was binned on Friday night for 125 bucks. I did not have best offers up because I listened to my friend Max and I take notes during these episodes. But very rare win for me on eBay. I'm Max on the 90-day right now and selling. I'm up to 465 bucks though on eBay. So feeling pretty good about myself.
That's even higher than $420.
Even higher than $420.
Yeah,
So I
you.
was feeling pretty good about that.
Yeah. And a similar story during the Dallas card show, I bought, as you know, one of my favorite cards for Comps Don't Matter, fuck you, of the 2014 Select Kobe Bryant Courtside, which is in his Team USA uniform. I bought a blue silver refractor PSA 10. I bought it from D&P Sports Cards, which is a phenomenal West Coast dealer and card shop. I bought it at the Dallas Card Show for what was a very fair, I want to say $525. I believe the last comp of a PSA 10 was $600. Riddled in the sales history, though, they sell maybe 2 to 3 copies a year publicly. I know the last Raw was $389. There was a BGS 10 at like $900, a PSA 10 at like $900 if you dug deeper. And we were I mean, this is where the flipping of the play happens. You respect the market play of $600 being the PSA 10. And granted, there's some aspects of, yeah, I'm sure he knew that the prior sales history was higher in some aspects. But if you're operating on a market to market standpoint, then you just want to be able to sell the market costs. I'm inheriting the risk that maybe those sales are fugazi, maybe it'll never come up to those sales. But just by knowing ball, I know that that card is sick. I know I've operated and made profit on that card before by selling that to collectors. I got an offer on my eBay account last night that we then just decided to. No, I followed eBay's COS, wink, wink, nod, nod, and I netted about $675 off that Kobe Bryant. A nice, cool $150 profit off a very cool Kobe Bryant. And this is what I mean by when we're in a status of market instability, and I hate that word market, and card instability, if you focus on the cooler cards that people genuinely want, that's how you mitigate risk as much as possible. And buying a cool card like that, the comp didn't matter. I sold it above the comp and more money in my pocket. I don't know what 675 over 525 is, but that is a very sizable percentage.
Yeah, no, I feel like that strategy is something that you're always talking about with your eBay selling, and it's something that I feel like I take to heart. At least have over time, like, especially like last week, I was home for Thanksgiving. I was going through some of the cards that I had bought in 2020 when I first got into cards again, and there is a lot of random shit. And I was like, wow, I would have never bought or traded for any of these cards really nowadays. So I was able to get rid of or fill up a box to send to COMC, of stuff that I was like, wow, I feel like my collecting has evolved a ton. And a lot of it is because of like conversations that we have, Max, about the rarity, manufactured rarity versus like true rarity. And, the demand. I feel like there's something, going on in the card world where people are talking about how much the cards have gone down over the last couple of years. It's something that has been a part of conversations for the last year or so, but has been, I feel like, picking up a little bit more recently. Like, I mentioned at the beginning, but like Jeff Wilson had a response to one of those Mahomes National Treasures RPAs sold for like 500K or something, but
I
one
think
sold for a
like
million.
K to 250K or something like that in like a 9 month holding period.
Yeah.
Something like
So it's like these high end, super mega high end cards are selling for, if they're getting resold within a year or two, they're all taking baths right now on them. Max, are you following this Babe Ruth auction at all?
It ends tonight. I'm following it. I'm a little bit jaded with Robert Edward auctions right now, but so I don't really want to talk about. Yeah, whatever. They kind of did me dirty, but I will be bidding with them tonight. I have to look through my little catalog that they shipped to my house and find out what cards I want to bid on. One card I will not be bidding on is the currently at $6,900,000 is the Babe Ruth Baltimore News rookie, Sporting News Baltimore Orioles rookie card in red. I know there's copies of this card in red and in blue. As a student of the game, as someone who is progressively unlocking more aisles and target, I try to expand my knowledge base as much as possible. My very amateur analysis is the card is overgraded as a 3. Everyone knows this. These cards don't come up to auction very often. I want to say the last public sale of this card was 2019. I could be incorrect. And it's worth what someone's willing to pay for it. And hopefully it's not a situation like these aforementioned Mahomes National Treasures RPAs where they're being bought and sold. Common example of this is the Tom Brady Contenders rookie ticket, which is consistently just getting lower and lower in price every time it gets resold, even though there's 99 of the championship ticket. So hopefully this won't be a situation like that because there's fewer copies of these. I want to say there's 8 graded examples in general. Extremely amateur analysis, but that's just going off the dome. Tommy, what are your thoughts?
I don't have any thoughts, dude. It's way above my pay grade for this one. I just was interested to hear you. I mean, SGC is definitely hyping it up. Obviously, it does seem a little overgraded in my opinion. Definitely interested. I want to know how pissed Ken Golden is that he's not selling it. That's always one of my favorite things is when he does not get to sell the cards that are selling for 8 figures.
Yeah, I know it's funny you touch up on overgraded, and I am not chastising you. I very much am active in saying I can't tell you the difference between a PSA 5 and a PSA 6. If you show me 2 cards, I can say which one looks better, and I can tell you which one I think would grade higher in a technical grade. And I think that ability to discern gets easier as you go from the lower grades to the higher grades, especially going from authentic to one. One thing that makes me say that the card is overgraded is that when you have like usually, yeah, severe, I'll stick on one point at a time, severely rounded corners from my amateur evaluation usually caps it at like a 2. If you have like all 4 corners having severe rounding and severe whiting like this Ruth does, I usually think that's a 2 maximum. And this card was graded an SGC 3. And there's some wrinkles on the card, which is allowed. You're allowed to have wrinkles. You're allowed to have, especially if they don't bring color. Some of them do. Usually they're more faint and less deviating from the subject, while these creases on the Ruth are pretty obvious and eye catching. Again, as someone who has never held the card, never seen the card outside of pictures, I would think the card would be closer to a 1.5 and a 2 rather than a 3. I don't think the difference means much. Similar to the SGC 9.5 Rosen 1952 Mantle, it was evaluated as quite possibly the greatest 52 tops mantle ever. And the people that are buying it are directly comparing it to the 3 PSA 10 subjects. The technical grade on it is irrelevant because the card is the card regardless of the holder.
Yeah, and I do think the Ruth might be one of those cards that actually had rounded corners.
No, it did.
No, it meant like
When it was released.
yeah, I think like production. I should have looked into this more before I brought it up, but just wanted to see if that was a topic of conversation because it has been in the news and at Philly, I figured maybe people were talking about it a little bit.
Yeah. I think REA had a like gala or something like that or the showcase where like people were. I think. Yeah, I don't want to name names of people that were there. That's irrelevant to why I'm pissy at them, by the way. Full disclosure. But yeah, I'm sure the people that saw the Babe Ruth in hand are able to better adjudicate whether it's a fine enough subject or not. I was a little upset that because they were set up, and I briefly looked in the showcase, and the Ruth wasn't there, which probably makes sense to not have a several $1 million card in the showcase at a card show where there's less security. But that's something that a lot of auction houses do. During their previews of the auction, they will put the cards that they are consigning into their showcases. And people are like, oh, that's cool. And it's like, oh, well, you want it? You got to bid online.
Yeah, exactly. Um, Changing gears a little bit, Max, but a few weeks ago we discussed your strategies and success with selling cards to repackers. It's been a topic of conversation since Cblez went on kind of a rant about how breakers are calling themselves breakers when they're only doing repack breaks for people where they're basically, buying cards at shows and online, making repack products, breaking those live for people that buy them from them, calling themselves breakers, while he was saying that true breakers are people that are opening up, officially licensed product. There's been a lot of conversations around, how good are repacks for the hobby, what makes a repack good or bad. I know that pretty much everyone and their mom these days is making a repack in some capacity if you're a high volume card selling, entity. Not saying Cards Max is not one, but I wouldn't consider you someone who would be making a repack product or anything. In my experience, I think repacks can be good. I mean, every year it's getting worse and worse odds to rip Tops or Fanatics or Panini products. Having alternatives to those, I think, is healthy for the market. You still want to gamble, you want to have shots at big cards, but you don't want to open up a box that you might end up with 50 cents worth of cards or something. When you're paying a few $100. So I see the value in having repacks. I think this debate that's being had in the discourse is definitely healthy to have, to be like, hey, let's have higher scrutiny on these repacks. I think having, big chase cards is always fine. Like, I think that's fine. I'm not really worried about those types of things. For me, it's more about these card shows where certain dealers will have like $10, $15 repacks for that kids buy. They tell them that, you'll get $10 worth of rookie cards in it, and it's basically $1 or $2 worth of cards, and these guys are telling kids that these are, $10, $15 cards. For me, that's really what it's about, where it's like people are going to take advantage of the repacks, take advantage of the success of the really legitimate ones, and then screw other people. Max, I know we were kind of talking about this before the episode, and we're not going to make anyone mad at you, I promise.
No, that's silly. No one would ever be mad at me. Look at me. How can you be mad at me? But I think you hit the hammer on the head very well. Of that, this is just first of all, everyone who is opening a repack pretty consensually knows what they're doing, unless we're talking about minors or people that are under 18. Everyone, maybe this is just a little libertarian of me, but everyone is able to operate in the free choice to enter a repack, recognize the risks, as long as the averages and the ceilings are honest, recognize what they're doing, and be able to gamble appropriately, because that's what it is. And what makes the better repacks the best is that they're getting cards in there that people actually want. I mean, truth be told, what if for $300, would you rather have a, again, not you specifically, but just the layman, the general person, would you rather have a PSA 8 LeBron James rookie card from 2003 flagship tops, or would you rather have like a Mike Trout Heritage 7th year black refractor out of 67? 90 times out of 10, I believe those cards are worth about the same. You'd rather have the LeBron James, and a lot of people would rather have the LeBron James. So the repacks that are most successful are getting cards that we reference on this podcast have a high dank to dollar ratio. They're putting them in the repacks. And hey, if people want to sell them, they're able to sell them easily and without really needing much of a hassle, because these are cards that ultimately people want. One of my biggest gripes with the hobby in general is that this is such a haven for entrepreneurship, but people don't like it if you make money in the wrong ways. People don't like it if you are an influencer charging for TikToks, or you're running affiliate marketing, or you're running your own, you're selling wax at a profit, or you're a breaker. People hate breakers for some reason. I don't know why. Sometimes I don't really like condoning the or operating as the hand that is the person ripping the wax and then being unenthused when people get skunked on Fanatics and Panini wax. But like, I understand why people do it. It's not immoral. You're just opening the wax for people, right? And it's the same people that like get mad at repacks outside of the examples that you're talking about at card shows where they're really just taking advantage of kids. But people get mad at repacks and they're making, a certain percentage margin. Do you get mad when you go to the grocery store and you buy bread and it maybe costs 20 cents to make that bread and you're paying $5? Do you get mad when you're going to the restaurant, you're having a nice bowl of pasta and that they're charging you $18, but they put it in a box, or granted they sourced it and it tossed them maybe $3? I had a delicious $9 creme brulee the other night. I know it cost them $2 to make. It's like you just get mad at every single entrepreneurial endeavor, or you just mad that your friends or your associates are making money and you aren't. Because there are so many more things to get mad about where that's just you're providing a service or you're providing a good. That's how people make money. So you can't, just because it's involved in cards and that's close to home and there is a lot of collecting, that is not a justifiable reason to get mad at people for making money if they're doing it in an ethical way, because these same people don't really think about the costs that other small businesses have when, yeah, they're getting killed 400, 500% when they eat their bowl of pasta or when they eat their steak at a restaurant. So I think it's unfair to apply some levels of scrutiny to your small business breakers than you are your big restaurant, your big pharma, your big sport, and everything else.
Yeah, not to use your same analogy, but you did hit the nail on the head there with like the hobby gets mad at things where it's like there's so many more important things to get mad about, even in the card collecting world, than people doing repacks. Like, I mean, there's a couple. First of all, you did say I don't know why people get mad at breakers. I think there are times where breakers, and it's good because everything is recorded that they do basically. So it is, there are times where shady shit goes down, and those people correctly get called out by the community, and almost all the time, repercussions come their way. It's one of the reasons why I actually am pretty supportive of the Fanatics Alive kind of shift in the market, is because I think that there's more accountability that can be had there than just these like really wild west of streaming places and online marketplaces. It could lead to some better, more transparent breaking situations. Obviously, Fanatics investing heavily in breaking is, you know, relatively controversial in general, but I am a fan of having a little bit more of an authority over those sorts of things. A point that C Bluz brought up on a video I saw today too was that, a lot of these repackers are using comps from like, a few months ago when they bought the cards. They take a few months to create the repack products, and by the time they're making those products now, the cards may have gone down in price, and then they're still marketing those cards as being worth that amount. But in general, I think that's just more of an education on the consumer side. Like, go check your own comps. Don't rely on what other people tell you cards are worth. And Max, we will always tell everyone, buy singles, don't rip. Whether
Yeah,
it's a repack or a Tops product, don't rip.
this is the closest alternative that you can get to ripping that isn't going to make you lose your hat. And if you are losing your hat, you're losing your hat a lot less than you would your traditional Fanatics wax.
Yeah, exactly. And
And if
so,
you like it, don't play the game and buy singles.
exactly. So that's our 2 cents, I think, on the topic, Max. I just wanted to address it since it was something that was coming up a lot on the timeline this week.
Do you want to see a talk about more cards on my desk?
Yeah, before we get to eBay buys and nonsense of the week, let's hear what's up.
Okay, cool card. I just got back from a grading sub. Bobby Witt Jr. Topps Chrome Platinum Anniversary Gold Autograph to 50. These Topps Chrome Platinum Anniversaries are always a hot topic. Lots of people talking about the quality control. I didn't just drop that card. Um,
Quality control in what sense? Like that they're not centered well?
that they're not centered well, that this image is kind of cartoonish. And from a raw to grade standpoint and making money standpoint, I will never not look at a gold refractor or a rookie autograph of Bobby Witt. I mean, those always make sense. But related in general, I think we're getting to a lot of sets being overproduced, lots of weird parallels, lots of overproduction. I would much rather, again, this is not a controversial statement. I'd much rather have a true gold refractor than an agua wave refractor. And the collectability of that long term is going to be apparent.
Yeah, and even if it is a relatively new product like Topps Chrome Platinum Anniversary, it's like the gold refractors have a long history of being the most desirable, and sticking with that strategy for the newer products, especially when they're calling back to these like iconic sets in the first place. So It's not totally a whole new thing.
I think of
Um,
it as Chrome heritage.
yeah, and I think we've discussed the platinum anniversary product before, and I think we both generally are pro the product and think it will be around for a long time. Certainly will be around a lot longer than like some of these random other new products that they're throwing out there. Like I don't think Topps Chrome Cosmic will be around forever or
Yeah,
like,
I think they
stuff like that.
53 tops some more justice, but I can't say that this is a bad card.
Yeah, for
Especially when, like, I'm just gonna guess this is probably a $500 card in the PSA 10. I know I bought it raw for like $300, and I bet it's down since then. But like, there are a lot worse $200 to $300 cards you can spend on Bobby Witt rookie autos. That's
100%.
for sure. And that was more so my point. I have 6 cards in my hand. Tommy, I think you already know what these are. In September, I bought a lot of Mike Trout rookies of US 175 2011 Topps updates. I bought 6 of them. I bought 5 PSA 9s and 1 Beckett 9.5. I sent them, I cracked them out. I sent them to PSA because I like making money and I want to make money. My results were I got 2 PSA 8s back. The Beckett 9.5 it turned into a PSA 8. I got 2 PSA 9s back, and I got 2 PSA 10s. Did I make money? The card has dipped by about 25% since I sent them out. That is alarming. That came out of nowhere. People really are fading Mike Trout. That's what the gambling kids say. They say they're fading. This was a $1,300 PSA 10. It is now a $900 to $1,000 PSA 10. And I want to say PSA 9s dipped from $500 to $600 down to $350. So let's just say these trouts are worth $1,000 each. That's 2,000 right here. This, let's say, is like 2,600, and then the eights, I'm just going to say, makes it like 33. In general, probably 33 to 3,600. I didn't comp this out all beforehand, and I paid 2,600 on them. Did I make money? At this point, from a value standpoint, yes. As it stands, grading was $115 for $15 bulk on all of these. So regardless, I made money. I may just, I hate that I have to do this, but most of my baseball is just in hold till March mode because I know I can try to climb that 20% back, especially on a relatively commonly traded card like Mike Trout rookies. And given that there were other cards in this submission that I thought should have been graded higher, I had a card that 9 PSA twice become back a PSA 8, and that given that 2 of these 9 stayed 9s and 2 of these 8s, and including a back at 9.5 downgraded to an 8, 2 of these became 8s, it makes me want to resub them because I'm convinced that I got a bad grader.
So the 2 10s you got were from PSA 9s, not the
Correct.
Beckett 9.5. Yeah. All right.
Correct.
Just to clarify.
Well, the way I know that is you can submit your cards. The order that you submit your cards to PSA remains the exact order that you get them back. And I knew that I put the Beckett 9.5 on the bottom of the stack, and that was the PSA 8. And also, just in case I was confused, I was like, oh, they put it on the top or the bottom. The top card also PSA 8'd.
Tough. Well, Max, I was thinking this earlier. You've been talking a lot about how it's time to buy baseball just based on the market fluctuations. But I also know that you're all about cash flow and getting money out and in at the same time. So how do you balance that like desire to buy baseball at a time when the market's down with the fact that you also need to be selling cards and creating that liquidity at the same time?
It makes me incredibly logically inconsistent. Um, I am very proactive in buying Shohei Ohtani, for instance, right now, and I'm trying to target as rare or as highly desired stuff that I can. That when the time comes and we're at Shohei Mania, it's kind of the cards where it's like you get to price it at whatever you want. Like, okay, if you have a PSA 10 update black of Shohei Ohtani, of which I was second place during bidding, and you have that during July of last year, that was a 10K card last year, a PSA 10 black Shohei Ohtani, and they're selling for 4K now. And the black rookie debut PSA 10, they're selling for 3K when the PSA 9s were doing 5K 2 months ago, whatever. That's the type of card that you're going to have much better chance of being able to do well on than buying a refractor Topps Chrome. And it's just overly saturated. No one really wants the card except for the layman that can afford it. And even then, it's a retail parallel at the end of the day. So it's a tough balance. A card that I've have right now is my Beckett 9.5 Jackson Holiday gold refractor autograph, Beckett 9.5 with a 9 auto. I bought it as a PSA 9. I cracked it at 9.5. Great. I've been offered in like the 7,000s many, many times. My bottom is $8,000 net. I don't care who you are. If you want to pay me 8 grand, you can have the card. You're not getting it for a dollar lower than that. And I know that I have time on my side. I know that I have until January and February to sell that before it's Jackson Holiday Mania, before we're getting to where games count and injuries count, and then baseball starts and everything collapses. Look, I mean, if you think Jackson Holiday's next big thing, you're going to double, triple your money. 97% of the time, that's not the case. That's just my opinion. That's just my opinion. I don't try to hold things. I try to pass it on to the next person. I did my job. I'm enjoying this card a lot. But my to answer your question, how do I handle with that inconsistency? I recognize that if I want to get the percentage or what I feel the card is worth, and my feelings don't really care. It's what comps say it's worth. And I know that in general, the comps are going to be on my side as we progress in time for the next 2 or 3 months, rather than it being basketball season right now and time is against my side. And each comp is probably going to be lower than the next. And it's time to move the card out of my hands.
So, is your thought also with the Shohei and the Juan Sotos right now that they're going to be changing teams and that there's going to be a spike in hype for them even before spring training starts because of that change in team? Like, is that playing into your why you bought that Juan Soto Black Refractor earlier that you showed?
With Soto, not really. With really anyone but Otani, not really. Just because this is directly Shohei is directly consequent of the injury and him legitimately being at 50% of comps compared to January to July. I am
Yeah.
buying some of his cards now that I was buying at preseason prices of him before he had the monster second MVP campaign. So that's my mindset is more so that things are due for correction and his status quo is at the aftermath of an injury rather than what his prices should be. So I do think changing teams and spring training will strongly help him, and the fact that he's not pitching doesn't really matter. I do want to like get again the rarer the better, and I don't want to just have like a house or college tuition in Shohei Otani. Um, I bought a PSA 10 Shohei Otani Sapphire. I want to say 2 or 3 weeks ago. I bought it at a percentage of what the recent comps were, and they were doing 3,000. And now the most recent sale is 3,500. The card is up. I don't want to do math right now. The card is up, but I know the delta from that, just from that $3,500 sale, and just that you're trending in the right direction. I've already essentially, as long as I sell it, I've already made money on that card. And if I can get more cards like that, if anything rarer than a PSA 10 Sapphire, where there's like 210 copies of, then that's even better. I want my black flagships. I don't want my mass numbered produced cards. If I can get my cracks, I'm going to try to get my cracks in there. Don't buy just because I'm saying it like I have that influence anyway. But make your own decision. Shohei is just someone that I've enjoyed doing my work to cards with, like buying at a certain percentage with, or cracking and trying to get PSA 10s with, because you want to grade the cards that you also want to invest in, so that you have that blanket to sleep in at night and be tucked in no matter what.
Yeah, and I feel like part of it is also you just know the market. You see comps all the time. Like, don't just buy into cards when you only have been following the market for like a week. You know, it's like you've been following this market for you've quoted pricing from ship for Shohei cards going back like a year.
No, but
Uh,
there's also times where I'm wrong. Like I'm wrong a lot. Like
yeah,
I'm holding, Michael Harris cards right now that I bought 2 months after Topps Chrome released in September, and it's November, or excuse me, December 2nd right now, December 3rd, something like that. What even is a calendar? And the car and Michael Harris cards, and some Adley and some Volpe and some Jordan Walker as well. But I've noticed it specifically the most with Michael Harris and Jordan Walker. They're like down 50% from September, which that doesn't make sense to me. And granted, yeah, I will be taking an L on some of them. I've taken an L on some already, even when I'm already grading. And sometimes the grading is what saves me. I'll gem a card and I'll sell it for what I paid for it raw. It sucks, but that's just the market. But in those cases, that's where it's like, okay, nuke it, keep it in for March or whatever, And I don't really like holding things, but just out of if a card is what you think is a buy at that same time, if it's already at your buy price and you're so confident in it, then that again, as long as you have the bankroll to do it, the move is to buy more. The move isn't to watch your hands. If you think it's still a buy, don't sell.
Yeah.
If it's already down 50% since Topps Chrome released from late July, early August to September, and then it's down another 50% from September to November, and nothing has happened in November. Mikey had a bad playoff run, and he's the fifth. I had the comment from our number one biggest fan, who is now a girl dad, by the way. Congratulations. That yeah, he's the fifth best player in his own team, and I'm like, okay, that's great, but that was also the case in September. That didn't change in November. So I'm getting very galvanized right now. But yeah, I will buy gold autographs out of 50 for $200. That just makes sense as a buy, and that makes sense to me as something that can correct rather than what are they going to do? Go $100? What are your non-autos going to be $50? That just doesn't make sense for Michael Harrison. Too many people like him enough heading into the season to where it makes too much sense to be a buy. And I'm saying that when I've already gotten smoked on buying his cards in the first place. So take that for a grain of salt.
Yeah, don't take Max's advice as for specific players, just more take his thought
Oh,
process that goes into them and apply them to things that you actually care about and
yeah,
know about.
exactly. Cole Anthony, Jordan Nwora, Desmond Bain, take your pick. I am not a genius. I don't sports bet, but I lost most of my sports bets today.
Nice.
But if you grade, that's where it helps you. And if you buy good cards like Ron DeSantis Yale batting and Kobe Bryant's Team USA courtsides, you're not going to get smoked. On Michael Harris Topps Chrome Gold Autos, where there's not that many Michael Harris buyers, but there's way more people ripping the product, that's where you can get hosed.
Yeah, exactly. Max, just speaking of wanting to know more about what's going on in the world, as I haven't been to shows in a little bit, it's December 3rd right now. Who were the most liquid basketball players on the floor in Philadelphia?
I wish I could answer that question. I feel like people aren't touching basketball right now. Excuse me, people touch basketball. That's wrong. Um,
Not Anthony Edwards, though. They're
Anthony
balling.
Anthony Edwards had the hype during FIBA in preseason. He already got hyped up, and then during normal season, during in season, that kind of just corrected. I think Chet Holmgren in general is now still a hot name. There hasn't been, again, I think of this because I'm just baseball is my evergreen. That Shohei Ohtani, July 2022, Aaron Judge, September 2021. That is a hot player. That is, if you own the card, you can say whatever you want on the price,
Yeah.
and that's okay. And then you will get it, and you will get the price because people want their cards. There is no player like that, in my opinion, for basketball or football right now, and that's just my interpretation.
No.
I feel like with again, I'll target football because we're closer to playoffs. If you think your quarterback's going to make a run, maybe now's the time to buy. Maybe, who knows? But I want to say every single quarterback this season is either like at their expectations or below. The only exception might be CJ Stroud, who only has extremely overpriced mosaic cards right now. I say Sam Howell is exceeding his expectations. His cards have treaded water or dipped. Kenny Pickett is way down. But even your MVPs like Hurts, Hurts is doing the same thing now that he did last year. No change. Mahomes is slightly lower than last year. Josh Allen, sometimes he's MVP, sometimes he's a bottom third quarterback. No, there's no hot name for a quarterback right now. Part of that is just the nature of being in season, but part of that is just like the expectations are already baked in for most of these players. No players having a superstar year. Chet Holmgren and to an extent Wemby. I was absolutely wrong on Wemby, not from a player standpoint, but from his cards are up since preseason. Wemby's cards are up since release. If you bought a Bowman University autograph for $700 to $1,000, congratulations. In a ludicrous manner, they're now doing like $2,000 raw. It doesn't make sense to me. I would rather not touch these items than try to gamble with it. But if you gambled with Wemby, you are winning right now.
Well, I think Wemby is going to be indicative of the next couple years as as cards transition to all Fanatics too, where There's that big rant by our old friend of the podcast, or famous person on the podcast, Brian Gray, former CEO of Leaf, who went on this rant about how all the top quarterback prospects for the next couple years are signed to Fanatics exclusives. Wembenyama is famously signed to a Fanatics exclusive for autographs as well. So their markets are going to be basically new markets. Like, they're not going to be comparable necessarily to many previous people, because pick your name from the last decade, they've all had rookie autographs in their uniforms. Wembenyama is not going to have rookie autographs in a Spurs uniform. So I think that is definitely playing into the Wembenyama market a lot too. Max, do you agree with that?
I agree. I didn't consciously connect the dots with Wembanyama being a Fanatics exclusive athlete. This is it's bad for the hobby. Like, just point blank. I'm not a judge. I'm not an arbitrator, but I don't think you need a Juris Doctorate in order to make this claim. It's taking good cards away from the collectors as an attempt for Fanatics to squeeze every last drip out of Panini and buy them for even cheaper than what they wanted to buy for them before. Like when Topps had, I wish I knew the numbers. Tommy, do you know what Topps's valuation was before they went public,
I'll look
and
it up. I'll look it up.
what they purchased from? Tommy's going to clue me in. But Topps was set to go public, I believe, as Muds, or excuse me, yeah, I think they were set to go Republic, something like that. I know Topps was planning to go public, to my knowledge, at a certain valuation, and then Fanatics swoops in, gets the MLB exclusive license for themselves, and then I believe they also get the football and basketball licenses at a later date. But the one thing that Topps had, their golden goose, was the MLB exclusive licensing for baseball cards. Fanatics gets that, and Topps ends up selling to Fanatics for half the price that they were set to go public at.
Yeah.
It's entirely a move to try to make Panini lose their value, because people want the National Treasures RPAs of the top quarterbacks. People want the NTRPAs of Wembanyama. Good thing for Panini is that there's a lot of value in Prism Color, which doesn't require autographs. But who wins? Not us, not the collector, not the flipper, not the person who's waking up 5 a.m. to go to card shows. It's bad for the hobby.
And yeah, so Topps, their valuation reached as high as 2.7 billion. And then they sold to Fanatics for 500 million. So
Okay.
talk
I,
about tanking of value right there.
I was going to say, I didn't want to misquote it. I believe their IPO was set for about a billion
I think
valuation.
1.3.
Yeah.
So that is, I agree though, Max. I think it's annoying. I also am interested to see with these, I think with the push towards relics being non-associated, even in National Treasures, with anything, with Wembenyama's logo man and National Treasures, I think there's historically been a thing where you've been able to hang your hat on, hey, at least this person actually signed this card, and it's a real on-card autograph, for, like, I don't know, like the last couple years when National Treasures has been the same, not associated with anything. Wembenyama, you're getting into this situation now where he's going to have logo men in National Treasures at Flawless that are non-associated, not signed by him. Those values are going to be interesting to see, especially because, did you see the sale of Wembenyama's first jersey was, I think, $817,000, like an
Yeah.
insane amount of money. Panini is not getting their hands on any Wembenyama game worn jersey this year. No way.
No, they absolutely aren't.
Nice dog. Say hi to your dog for me, Max.
Yeah. Should I go get the dog and bring him in the room? No. But no. George is being very loud. George is a fan of the podcast. George is not a fan of licensing being exclusive. It hurts all of us.
Yep. Maybe we'll share the Brian Gray rant. That was pretty good though. But I just wanted to make sure we touched on that, Max, because that was something that I feel like is an interesting, beyond just the cards that are being created topic. We love talking about the universe of the businesses and the whole world out there. But I think we've reached the point, Max. I think the people are ready for why they came and listened to us, which is eBay online buys of the week. Do you want me to go first, Max?
Yeah, you can go first.
Cool. So I want to actually start out my eBay buys of the week with a rant real quick about a seller on eBay that I would like to call out by name, actually. So I'm going to quickly look them up. But my Northwestern Wildcats upset Purdue on Friday, beat the number one team in the nation for the second year in a row. Let's go. Boo Booey had 31. My boy, I am famously doing the rainbow of his Bowman first from 2021, Bowman University. This guy, Maxwell Dog Sports Cards, he has the Boo Booey Red Shimmer out of 10 that I do not have on eBay right now. Before the game, he had it listed at $50 OBO, and I had been offering him $20 on it. I had bought in the red for $50, or the red out of 5 last year for $50. The Red Shimmer out of 10, I'm like 20, $25. That's my max here. After the game, I go back to check on it. He has raised the price to $999 or best offer. So fuck you, this guy. I would love to have this card, and luckily there's 10 of them. I think I'll find one eventually. I'll be patient, but this dude out here raising the price on a card that is never gonna sell. My $50 for the True Red is the all-time high for a Boo Booey card ever to be sold publicly. So just wanted to do a quick FU to this guy. Some cards I did buy this week. I have long been discussing my love for 2009 Topps American Heritage. I found an out of 76 refractor of F. Scott Fitzgerald that I have been looking for 3 years. First time any of them have ever popped up on eBay. I bought it for $65 plus $4 shipping. I bought that, I think, within 10 minutes of the card being listed. It already had 4 watchers though. So indication that I think if I had it was interested in making profit on this card that I could repost it and someone would probably buy it, but was absolutely fired up about that sale or that purchase. I bought Max. Are you familiar with Panini Studio sketch cards?
Yes.
I'll show you a picture, but I think they're case hits from a product.
I knew Panini Studio. I did not know Sketch.
Yeah, so Panini Studio had these sketch case hits. You might have seen one of these before, Max. It's a Klay Thompson from 2016. They're case hits. I bought this for $15.19 plus $1 shipping. The 2 comps for the Klay were 36 and 25. So I just decided to bin it. I think next year I'm going to go for some of these more rare Klay inserts from the 2010s. I'm getting a little burned out on the new products and chasing anything new, especially as his play has declined a little bit. I want to get his prime year cards. These kind of rare inserts are something that I've avoided in favor of going for parallels of the more popular products like Optic and Prism. And at least in the last year, that's been kind of my focus. But I think next year I'm going to go for more of these inserts. That one just had a good price, so I wanted to buy it. And then another card I bought was a Brandon Crawford home field advantage. Another kind of strategy here of just a rare insert that I'm a fan of. These just they're hard pulls, the home field advantage, and they're just cool cards. Brandon Crawford, this will be the only time he ever gets one of these in a Giants uniform while he's still playing. So I bought that for $9.99 free shipping. I feel like for those cards, there's so many Giants collectors out there. The value's there for me long term to buy this and collect it. Obviously, I'm probably not going to be selling this card anytime soon, but just like to have these. I'm going to put together a little binder page of these and build them throughout the years. I think I have the Buster one. I think he's the only other player from the Giants who's ever gotten one of these cards. So I bought those. NBA Road to the Finals. I've been famously collecting these as well. The Warriors only have 3 cards this year in the set from Hoops. The new Hoops set came out. I like to give shout out to Panini here. They put some little foil on the Road to the Finals cards this year, so spiced it up a little bit for me. But in doing so, they also, for the first round, only make 1 card now. So the first round, they used to make 1 card for every game that happened in the playoffs. Now they only do that for the second round on. They added foil, whatever. But Steph's game 7 against the Kings, where he dropped 50, cleaned that one up. So there's only 3 cards. There are 2 Stephs and a Klay. I bought them all for under $20. Those will be added to the binder. Easy money. Even though they did the Road to the Finals for the Warriors last year was much shorter than previous years, felt like I still got to buy them all, especially just, since Hoops is probably not going to be a product for going forward for very long. This can be a very good time capsule of that. Done with my rant, Max. Do you think?
I'm very interested that they're downsizing rather the amount of Road to the Finals playoff cards. It's definitely one of the biggest nuggets that I like. I love learning more about the Road to the Sets from you, and it's one of the favorite nuggets that I learn from you. My eBay buys for the week, I always get confused if I repeat any, but um, today is December 3rd, so um, the first card I bought, I have about 7 cards, some in hand, some not. This is a Kevin Durant BGS 9. Tom, your jaw is open.
Dude, this
Jaw.
card is sick. This card is sick.
BGS 9 Kevin Durant orange refractor out of 199. Tommy? How much do you think this card is worth, and how much should it be worth?
I think you got out of those orange ones. Kind of, they don't get a huge premium out of 199 though, right?
199.
I think you paid 2,300 for it,
I
and I
paid
think
one
would
each 2,665.
wait, say that again.
2,665.
Hey, that was pretty good. That was pretty close.
That's pretty good. Good subgrades: centering 9, corners 9, surface 9, edges 9.5. So there's definitely worse subgrades to have for Beckett 9. That's just a boring, silly little crack card.
Oh,
Um,
crack! You're gonna crack that,
oh yeah.
dude. That's one of your more valuable cracks of all time, no?
Oh, Tommy, I haven't even touched on the PSA order that I have that's likely going to pop Monday.
You want to save it for next episode when it pops?
We'll have a producer cut to this moment. Well, I'll tease it at the end of eBay buys.
All right, go for it.
The next 2 that I bought were okay, guess the price of this. Masataka Yoshida Orange Wave Finest Auto to 25.
So I do see his name pop up a lot. I can't say I've ever looked at his cards on eBay or anything. Orange Finest, Orange Wave Finest Auto.
Yes.
I'm gonna say $375.
172.
Mm,
Like for an orange auto out of 25, that's pretty cool. Like
that's not. Yeah.
just the one after that is a Michael Harris Topps Gilded out of 50. These are just pretty cards. Topps Gilded Auto out of 50. You have the Rookie Cup. I'm glad Gilded is here to stay. It's tough to time. Oh, sorry. This is out of 75, the gold etch autograph. I'm glad that it's becoming more of a mainstream set. This is like flagship deluxe. They're cool cards. They're new images, and I like them. This is
See,
gonna 9, by the way. This has a dimple, but
but like, nah. I like the only value in that product, in my opinion, Max, is the fact that they have the veteran, like the legends in them.
oh god,
You
oh my,
hate it?
no, I love it.
Oh yeah, like seeing Babe Ruth in a 2023 Topps Chrome design.
It's not like tired and like milked dry like the Bowman ones. It's like they're just cool cards.
Yeah, and that
Ready
even
to command something.
even some of the guys that like are these older head collectors that I follow seem to really
Yeah,
enjoy
they
the
go
product.
after like High Cobb Super Fractor because they're just beautiful cards.
Yeah, so I respect it.
Yeah, I agree too. I bought a pair of out of 499 Shohei Otani Bowman 2018 refractors. Both were PSA 9s. Those are not in hand yet. And the last card which is in my opinion the coolest card that I bought out of those 7 or so cards, is an Allen and Ginter X Adley Rutschman Silver Ink Auto out of 15. Bought it to
That's it.
grade. Those cards are so cool. They are really tough and really rare. Only 15 copies for, I think that's the base auto. And I'm pumped to like get that slabbed up. Not even out of the chance of it gemming, just out of like I know the people that rip that product often don't grade it.
Yeah, and the silver autos on the Ginter
On the
X
back,
black look so sick.
they're so sweet. And I
Wait,
was like,
before you go to your next one, Max, I saw something that you posted about. Nice tease. I saw you posted about Kenny Pickett, because we have talked historically about like the color of ink that you sign a card with impacts the value. Tell people the deal with Kenny Pickett National Treasures autos.
oh, I don't know why. I know that Kenny Pickett signed some of his National Treasures RPAs in gold ink and the others in blue ink. And I know there's the gold parallel, which I believe he signed all in gold ink. I'm not mistaken because I don't buy and sell Kenny Pickett RPAs. Sorry, but I don't, and I also don't know the monetary value difference between them. But I guess Tommy just brought it up because it's just an interesting factor that Pickett signed some in gold ink and some in blue ink. And I think I like showed the two auctions, and I'm like, which one do you think will end higher? I didn't end up checking to see which one did end up higher, but
No, yeah, didn't need you to go too deep. I just thought that was a cool fact that I didn't know about, that you posted about. So what, we love giving people just random fun facts throughout episodes.
no,
That's
I
part of the game.
and I also bought this not from eBay, downtown 2020 Steph Curry. That's on my desk. And I guess the last thing is, I don't. I mean, granted, it's my podcast. I can talk whatever I want. Fuck you, and Tommy can too. But I have this really fun PSA order that should pop on Monday, and I also have more than one that's set to pop on Monday. But the juiciest of the juicy is set to pop on Monday as a $150 grade per card. This is high stakes. Um, it is a 20, so 5 cards. 2017 Patrick Mahomes field level select silver is the first card. Shohei Otani 2018 Heritage ball in hand red ink autograph is the second card. The third card is a 2016 Patrick Mahomes silver XRC. The fourth card is a Connor McDavid 2015 Topps silver foil. And the fifth card is a 2022 Optic Downtown Black Pandora Patrick Mahomes. I am really excited to see which of those turn into PSA 10s. I want to say 4 of them were PSA 9s formerly, with the Connor McDavid being a Beckett 9.5. So I'm on the edge of my seat to find out those results.
Damn, I'm fired up. Good tease for next week to see what those come back as. You are playing a little bit of the football game with Mahomes, but he is the safest guy to do it with these days.
Exactly. I'm doing it because I want to find value and cards to grade, and not because I'm particularly bullish on Mahomes.
Yeah, fair enough. Fair enough. Well, I'm excited to see. Hopefully, you do a little screen recording of your PSA, grading reaction video. The app. You want to tell? I don't know if we've talked about, but PSA has been upgrading their app, right? Like kind of
Yeah, they're
periodically.
respectively state of the art now, and the user interface is really nice, and that you can just go to your orders. You can go and then you go to the order screen, and then you can flip the cards and see what the results are as you get them. And you can screen record it and do whatever you want in real time. It definitely makes the grading reveal part way more immersive. Um, my only like jab at that is that um, by like outside of my most recent PSA bulk order, I get upcharged on every single PSA order I send out. So I'm usually doing my like blind reveal in the forms of an email, and then, or like not in the forms of email, but like that's how I find out. I open the email and I see like the card. I try to like I zoom into the title of the card. I'm like, okay, this is the card, and then I like drag the cursor right in order to see what the grade is, so that like I'm still surprised, and then like I'm like building up anticipation for myself. So if I don't get if I don't get an upcharge email, that's probably bad news. But also, this is $150 a card, so who knows? I hope I get an upcharge email because these are really big and valuable cards. But regardless, I'll try to post out some sort of content of me reviewing the submission live so that you can experience with me, and you can get a chance of what it's like to be a guy like me. No.
Well, I'm excited for it, Max. Like, I'll hold on other thoughts until we see what the grades are. But did you, before we go here, did you see the COMC eBay news, Max, from the last week?
I saw that eBay is putting significant capital into COMC as an investment.
Yep, that is what the announcement was. It was that vague too. It was not super specific on what that meant.
I'm
But
intrigued because eBay also has stake in TCG Player.
yeah, so I'm interested to see what the feature there is. I'm guessing COMC. I'm guessing they just realized that the eBay vault was not going to work with their current infrastructure. And I have said repeatedly that COMC has the best infrastructure for
Yes.
the vault for
Is it
like low end. Go ahead, Max.
no COMC is a logistics company. That's all I wanted to chime in.
Yeah, no, it's totally logistics, and it's like if they can integrate into eBay where eBay makes more sense. COMC's also been coming out with more direct to grading situations, um, where you can, submit cards to get graded through COMC with a review from their team if you want for an extra fee. They've been doing breaking even where you can enter breaks with COMC credit, and then those cards go straight into your COMC uh, vault or whatever. So there's been signaling that they've been advancing their product, and I think it only makes sense for eBay to invest in that as opposed to try to recreate it themselves. Makes way more sense, and then it just will make eBay's life easier. They got to be wanting to cut down on the amount of shipping bullshit they deal with on a day to day. I'm sure they get so many eBay PWE eBay lost in the mail requests. They got to come through in the hundreds by day. So trying to find solutions to that, at least that will cut out some of those issues for them, just makes business sense. So um, we'll continue to monitor. There wasn't enough specifics for me to give a totally larger thought on it, but as someone who enjoys the COMC experience, I'm excited to see what holds in the future. Max, do you have anything else you want to say before we end this relatively long episode?
Love cardboard.